And welcome back, folks, to another edition of #AskGSM, the weekly Monday mailbag video where I answer your questions from Facebook and Twitter right here in this video forum. And of course, since I share a birthday with AJ Styles today, I will be wearing my AJ Styles merchandise, the AJ Styles shirt, and the gloves right there, the phenomenal one. Ring of Honor's own former TNA superstar turning 37 today. Also share a birthday with Velvet Sky, but since I don't have any beautiful people merchandise, this stuff will have to suffice. But I think I bought this stuff late last year, and I thought I should donate some money to TNA. I mean, they can use all the help they can get right now. But nevertheless, a lot of great questions for this week, and it's a little hard to navigate in these gloves, navigate my computer with these gloves on. But nevertheless, a lot of great questions. Let's get right down to it. First question comes from Jared J. His question was, in your opinion, does Dean Ambrose lack motivation and he doesn't have these standout matches and moments on the main roster like Rollins and Reigns do? That is a very good observation. I wouldn't say that he lacks motivation. I don't want to say he lacks opportunity. I don't know. It's just not that he lacks motivation or he's bad or anything like that. I love Dean Ambrose. If I had to pick a favorite from the Shield, I would have to pick Dean Ambrose, in my opinion. I mean, it can go either way. I love all of them the same. After their amazing performance last night at Payback, it's going to be a very sad day when the Shield inevitably splits up. But nevertheless, I don't think he lacks motivation. It's just not the fact that he doesn't have the standout matches or the moments. I'm not exactly sure because I was just thinking about this. Dean Ambrose hasn't really been in any singles matches at all since this whole Evolution thing started. He had a few matches with Sheamus. He had one for the United States Championship on SmackDown a few weeks ago. But he has not yet faced Randy Orton. He hasn't faced Batista. And he, of course, hasn't faced Triple H, who never wrestles on Raw nowadays. But Rollins and Reigns have, and Ambrose hasn't. So he just really hasn't been given the chance. And it's also the fact that Reigns and Rollins more come off like baby faces than Dean Ambrose has. Dean Ambrose is a great seller. He's great in the ring, great on the mic. I think he has more standout promos than he does matches. I think he's better on the mic than he is in the ring. Go back and watch his promo from last week's SmackDown. The way he just sells his craziness and comes off like a Joker-like character from Batman, so to speak. That is what sells him for me. That's what sells me on him. Just his selling and his mic skills more so than his matches. But his matches are very good. He has had very good matches with Sheamus, like I mentioned before. Had a few good matches with Daniel Bryan last year, CM Punk. I think he had a good match with RVD at SummerSlam last year. So a lot of very good matches from Dean Ambrose. It's just not standout material because Rollins and Reigns come off more babyface-like and get that big pop from the crowd, unlike Dean Ambrose. So that being said, next question comes from Ross S. His question was, which superstar and diva would you like to see return and how would you book their returns? Of course, for CM Punk, for the superstar, that sounds cliche, but CM Punk I would love to see back. And I'm not going to be one of those fans that's going to say, oh, he's going to be back at WrestleMania, he's going to be back at Payback in Chicago, and blah, 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 blah. I've said this many, many times over the last 3 to 4 months, but CM Punk will be back when he's back. It might not be next week, it might not be next month, and I can pretty much guarantee you it probably won't be. It might not even be by the end of the year. It might not even be next year. CM Punk will be back at some point. I can all but guarantee you that. But CM Punk will be back. I just don't have any hope that it's going to be anytime soon, so I just stopped hoping that he's going to show up on this Raw or this show or whatever the hell else. But CM Punk, I do want to see him come back. How would I book his return? Some people have said maybe beat up Daniel Bryan and then start that feud for the title, a heel CM Punk versus a face Daniel Bryan. That would be amazing. That's a very good scenario. You can have him beat up. I don't want to see him jump into a feud with Kane. Don't give me that bullshit. I know Kane was the last one to take him out, but he was tied to the Authority, and they were kind of building up the Triple H Punk anyway. So if Punk was going to come back, I'd have him attack Triple H and do that feud, because I know the feud was a couple years ago, but that was when they were both faces. So if you do a face CM Punk versus a heel Triple H, that could be a great feud, and then you can go into Punk versus Daniel Bryan. I don't even care if he fucking attacks Tyson Kidd. As long as he's back in the WWE, I just want to see CM Punk back. It doesn't really matter how, but that's how I would book it. Either attacking Triple H or Daniel Bryan. I freaking loved his return in 2011 when he came out the Cult for Personality and John Cena. That's an Alberto. That's not Alberto. And it comes down to 2 titles, the 2 WWE champions. Love that whole storyline. If his return is as great as something like that, I want it to be a surprise return. Maybe even have him return to the Royal Rumble next year. I think that'd be freaking awesome. But people would say, oh, why should he win it? He hasn't been around for the last year. I understand that. As a fan, I would love to see that. Realistically, maybe not. But I'd rather see him make a surprise return rather than announce it beforehand. Maybe pop a rating for Raw or pop a buy rate for one of the pay-per-views or whatever. I know it's a WWE network now. We don't really go by buy rates, but whatever. It doesn't really matter. But even still, I don't want to see WWE. My point is I don't want to see WWE announce the return ahead of time like they did with Batista and Stone Cold Steve Austin back when after he walked out in the WWE in I think 2002 and then came back the following year. I don't want to see them do that. I'd much rather see them just have CM Punk return in a surprise fashion. I love surprises. So as far as a diva who I'd like to see return, AJ Lee, of course. If you're talking about active people, these are people that I would like to see return. If you're talking about like at a free agents and whatever, Kurt Angle's a guy that I'd like to see return. Mickey James. But currently, diva I would like to see return, of course, AJ Lee. She's been out since after WrestleMania. Sorry, my phone went off. But yeah, AJ Lee, I would like to see her come back and attack Paige, and start that feud over the Divas Championship. Selfishly, I would like to see her return at the Raw after the Money in the Bank pay-per-view, because I very well might be there, and depending on whether I get tickets to that show later today, I'm not exactly sure as of right now, as of this filming. By the time you watch this video on Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever the hell else, whatever day during the week, I probably might or might not have gotten the tickets. But either way, if I do go to that show, I would love to see AJ Lee return and attack Paige and start that feud and have them have that feud culminate at the SummerSlam pay-per-view and do that feud over the Divas Championship. I think that could be great. But AJ Lee won't be back until after she gets married to CM Punk later this month. So she'll be back by late June or July. So one can only hope. Next question comes from Tony D. His question was, do you think that the Rhodes brothers are finally going to start a rivalry, or is it going to be ignored? I personally like the fact they've dragged it out this long, and they kind of started it after WrestleMania, and they didn't do anything at Extreme Rules or Payback. I mean, they didn't have a match against each other at Extreme Rules or Payback is what I meant. They did do a little something at Payback to tease a rivalry, but Rhodes walked out, and the crowd started chanting no, did a massive no chant. But I like the fact they're dragging this out because we talked about this on Wrestle Rant Radio a couple months ago. But I would love to see Cody Rhodes and Goldust face each other at SummerSlam because it's right before Goldust leaves the WWE. His contract expires in August. You have Cody Rhodes go over, and I don't want Cody Rhodes to be the heel either. If anything, I would like to see Goldust as a heel because Cody Rhodes just turned babyface a year ago. He still has massive potential as a face. He's over. No reason to turn him. Goldust is leaving anyway, so turn him if anything. Or you do a face versus face match. Cody wins. You hug it out. Goldust leaves. A retirement matchup. If Goldust loses, he has to retire, and he loses. They hug it out. It's over. Cody Rhodes moves on to bigger and better things. That's the way that I would book it. I don't think WWE is wise enough to do it that way. But even still, I would like to see that feud go, start at some point in the near future. More than likely, Cody Rhodes will turn heel either tonight on Raw or at some point in the very near future. I don't want to see it happen, but it will happen. But they definitely will feud. I think at this point they're just kind of building towards it. I don't think it's going to be ignored or whatever. They've spent this long building it up on Raw, SmackDown, Main Event, Superstars, whatever else, that I don't think they're going to ignore it. So, yeah, I definitely do think they're going to feud. Personally, I would like to see it culminate at SummerSlam and not Money in the Bank or Battleground or some throwaway match on Raw. I want to see on a big stage like SummerSlam. Just my opinion, though. Andre G, his question was, who do you consider the face of NXT, Sami Zayn or Adrian Neville? Well, given the fact that Adrian Neville is the current NXT champion, I would have to say him. I guess whoever's the champion of NXT is the face of NXT. But bias speaking here, I am biased in saying that I like Sami Zayn more than Adrian Neville. His mic skills are better. It's very debatable who's better in the ring. They both have amazing frickin' matches. Go back and watch NXT TakeOver. If you don't own the network, frickin' buy it. And if you didn't watch TakeOver, go and watch that show. It was amazing. Arguably better than Payback on Sunday night. So that being said, though, I would have to say Sami Zayn. I don't know I think Adrian Neville's been there longer, so maybe Adrian Neville. But when I think of NXT, Sami Zayn, because he had that standout feud with Cesaro last year. He's had great matches. He's had great matches with Bo Dallas and Leo Kruger and just Tyler Breeze this past week on TakeOver. So, to answer your question, Adrian Neville is the face of NXT, but in my eyes, Sami Zayn has had more breakout moments, I guess. It's very equal. Both guys are tremendous, but whoever's the current champion in NXT automatically makes him the face of that show. Paul asks a great question here. His question was, from the image below, And I can't show the image, of course, in this video, but I'll describe it to you in a second. What era do you consider as the best and the worst? So the picture, if you want to see the picture, go to my Facebook page. I left the question, leave the questions for hashtag AskGSM. He left it in the comment. It was posted on Sunday night, so it shouldn't be too far back. But his picture was, it was a four-sided picture with four corners. One was the Golden Age with Hulk Hogan, Randy Savage, The Ultimate Warrior, and Andre the Giant. The New Generation with Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart, Diesel, and Undertaker. The Attitude Era with Stone Cold, The Rock, Mankind, and Triple H. And the Ruthless Aggression Era with Goldberg, Cena, Batista, and Brock Lesnar. I don't know why, but initially when I read this question, I thought you meant like who was the best and the worst of each era. Let me see. Let me see the way that you phrase this. What era do you consider as the best and the worst? Okay, so if we're talking about the best and worst era, obviously Attitude Era. I mean, I think that goes without saying. I mean, I didn't even grow up in the Attitude Era. I think it's a foregone conclusion that the Attitude Era was the best. The Golden Age was pretty awesome too. Just looking at that, Hulk Hogan, Randy Savage, Warrior, Andre, and it's very sad that 3/4 of those people passed away. But the Golden Age, I don't know, that was a real big boom in wrestling, so some people might say that. I didn't grow up in any of these eras, to be honest with you, so I can't really say. The New Generation, and there's the Ruthless Aggression. The worst out of any of those, I mean, I think for a tie for the best is Golden Age and Attitude Era, but I guess some people would say Attitude Era as the best era, so I guess I'd have to go with that as the best. Golden Age is right up there, though. In terms of the worst, New Generation or Ruthless Aggression. I mean, I loved Ruthless Aggression. New Generation, I don't know. It's really hard to say, to be honest with you. Ruthless Aggression, we got a lot of great feuds. We got Benoit, Eddie, Cena, when he was still good. And he is good now, but you know what I mean. Batista, Triple H, a lot of good feuds in the Ruthless Aggression era. New Generation, we did too, but that's when they were getting their asses handed to them by WCW, and we got a lot of good feuds. So I guess as the worst, New Generation, if only because it's really overshadowed by a lot of the stuff in the Attitude Era and the Golden Age. But and Ruthless Aggression made the careers of guys like John Cena, Batista, Brock Lesnar, so many others. Randy Orton, Triple H had his standout years during the Ruthless Aggression era, as like his 3-year stint as world champion over on Raw. Goldberg was even fun for the year that he was around, and I think 02 to 03, or I'm sorry, 03 to 04. So there were a lot of good matches in Ruthless Aggression, as there was in the New Generation era. But I don't know. I mean, just business was not booming during the New Generation era. It's not like it was during Ruthless Aggression either. But I guess as the worst, I'd put New Generation. I guess you could put in Ruthless Aggression, but I guess I'd put New Generation. I didn't grow up in any of these eras, so it's just me personally speaking, so don't get mad at me for saying that. But next question, now on to the Twitter questions. At Stephen A1181, his question was, who has the higher ceiling, Adam Rose or Bo Dallas? Good question. Bo Dallas, his booking as of late has been strange. I mean, Payback, they rectified it, but he's been... And people who watch NXT understand the Bo Dallas character because he was shoved down our throats as a face for so long. They had to turn him heel, and he made a great heel. People that only watch Raw and SmackDown don't realize that, and they'll think that from the inspiring messages and stuff like that, oh, this guy's a babyface, so we should cheer him. But he faces guys that are fan favorites like Sin Cara and Kofi Kingston, and Xavier Woods, and whatever else, and whoever else. I mean, but I don't know. They really made an effort to try to make him a heel last night at Payback by saying that the Blackhawks suck when they were live in Chicago at Payback. So Bo Dallas, they're finally coming around to. He's a good in-ring guy. Not my favorite guy, but I am a Bo-liever, so to speak. So Bo Dallas has potential. Adam Rose, huge Adam Rose fan speaking here, and he's only been on the main roster for a month, and people are already saying he's old. People are saying that 2 weeks in. I do think he has potential, but like with Brodus Clay, Funkasaurus, and Fandango, you can only do so much with that character. And even when he goes to Leo Kruger, I don't think he's going to be a world champion. Huge Adam Rose fan speaking here, but I think Bo Dallas has the higher ceiling in terms of what he can do. Bo Dallas, same thing. I don't see him as a WWE World Heavyweight Champion, but I do think I could see him in a feud with someone like a John Cena, which could be fucking hilarious, given the similarities between Bo Dallas and John Cena. Bo Dallas is like a parody of John Cena, which is freaking hilarious if they were to ever feud. So Bo Dallas has the higher ceiling, although Adam Rose is a very fun character, and I love him. I just don't see him getting up any higher on the card than he already is. At Ali Kiori, her question was, what are your thoughts on Rusev, and do you see him winning a championship anytime soon? Rusev, I've really gone back and forth on. He's really progressed in the ring in the last, I don't know, since August when he had that good match with Dolph Ziggler in NXT. He's come a long way. He's got the mouthpiece in Lana. Awesome entrance music, very badass. He's a good in-ring guy. I think he's a better in-ring guy than Vladimir Kozlov was. A lot of people have drawn similarities between the two, myself included. But I like Adam Rusev. I think he's gotten good heat from the whole Russia thing. I mean, it's a cheap way to garner heat by associating himself with Vladimir Putin and the country of Russia and all that kind of stuff. It's a cheap way to get heat. It's an old school way of getting heat, but it's working, and he's getting booed, so there's that. And he had a very entertaining match, albeit only 4 minutes long, with Big E last night at Payback. So I like Rusev. Do I see him winning a championship anytime soon? I don't see him in the tag team division anytime soon or winning those titles. I think it's far too soon to give him the IC or the Intercontinental or United States Championships. Maybe down the line, not anytime soon. Definitely not a World Championship, of course. I don't see him contending for that anytime in the near future. And if they do push him towards that point, it's going to be too much too soon. That's the same mistake they made with Alberto Del Rio and Sheamus, and now both guys are stale as fuck because they got pushed down their throats so quickly. So the faster you rise, the faster you fall. Brock Lesnar, he was in the main event scene for 2 years, but then he left after that. So there's really no telling where he would have gone after that, after feuding with all the top faces in the company within his first 2 years there, and winning almost every champion, winning the WWE title 3 times. But nevertheless, I don't see him winning a championship anytime soon, but I think it won't be long before we see him with gold around his waist, whether it be later in the year or early next year, just not anytime soon. I don't want to see it happen because there's really no point, because Barrett and Sheamus just both respectively won their championships in early May. So there's really no point in taking the title off of either of those guys at this point in time. Next question comes from at the Innovator. His question was, which wrestler do you think is underrated / unappreciated by wrestling fans? I only looked at the WWE roster. There are, of course, people in TNA that are underrated too. I've only started watching Ring of Honor for a couple weeks now, so I can't really say for them. But in WWE, people will say Tyson Kidd, but he's so recognized by fans and stuff like that that he is like the single most underappreciated, underrated guy in WWE right now, that automatically makes him not underrated, I guess. But I'd have to say Kurt Hawkins. Kurt Hawkins has a lot of potential, in my opinion, not world champion material, but for fuck's sake, use the guy. I mean, at least put him in a tag team with Zack Ryder again. At least that'd be entertaining and making use of him. And God knows the tag team division needs help right now. I mean, it's been in a worse state before, but I mean, right now they need more tag teams after splitting up the Real Americans, almost splitting up the Road Brothers. The New Age Outlaws are gone. Tons of Funk is over with. What was the other tag team? Primetime Players are gone now. So they need more tag teams. Pair of Hawkins and Ryder, that'd be great. But yeah, Hawkins is good in the ring in my opinion. I think he's very underrated by fans. But even still, though, I look forward to seeing him in a tag team with Ryder. If they end up doing that, I don't think they would. But I don't think they will, but they should. But regardless, so I think Kurt Hawkins is very underrated in my opinion. And guys like underappreciated, like Batista. I mean, I don't know if you'd call him underrated or underappreciated or whatever. And RVD too, because Batista has been putting guys over fucking left and right since he came back. Give him a fucking break, people. He lost at WrestleMania. He got fucking submitted at WrestleMania in the main event to Daniel Bryan. The next pay-per-view at Extreme Rules, he took the pinfall for Evolution when he got pinned by Roman Reigns. And at Payback, he was the first guy to get eliminated in the entire matchup by, I think, Seth Rollins. So that being said, Batista deserves better in my opinion. Not give him a world championship. I mean, he should be world champion at some point, but don't give him so much shit. I mean, this guy's put over people left and right since he came back. In his fucking bio on Twitter, it says hashtag WWE Jobber, which is hilarious. But give him a break. And as far as Rob Van Dam, I think he's had good matches. He's over. He's put young people over since he came back in Cesaro and Wade Barrett. So I think he's underappreciated too, in my opinion. But next question comes from at NXT Girl 94. Her question was, what retired legend would you like to see back in the WWE ring for one more match? Retired legend. I should have prepared for this question by looking up a retired legend and then putting their name down. But Shawn Michaels and Edge are two guys that I would have loved to see back for one more match. Shawn Michaels I don't want to see come back for one more match, personally, if only because he had the perfect send-off. So as much as I would love to see him in one more match, I don't think he should return because he had the perfect send-off. So there's that. Edge, he can't physically wrestle anymore, so realistically he can't, but selfishly I would like to see him back for one more match. Although he also had a good send-off by having his last match at WrestleMania. Bret Hart can't physically wrestle anymore. Ricky Steamboat had a freaking awesome series of matches with Chris Jericho back in 2009, so having him come back for another few more matches would be great. He's not technically retired right now, but Kurt Angle I would like to see back in WWE. There's probably a lot of people I'm missing right now that I can't name off the top of my head that I would like to see back for one more match. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Kurt Angle, you wouldn't really call him a legend since he's currently in TNA, but I want to see him back in WWE for one more match for sure. The next question comes from @OfficialCenaFan. The question was, who would be an ideal opponent for John Cena at SummerSlam? I've been saying this for a while now, but I think either Cesaro or Daniel Bryan. Cesaro and John Cena had a very good matchup on Raw a number of months ago. It's a very fresh feud. Anything's fucking better than John Cena and Bray Wyatt right now. I mean, they had a great match at Payback, don't get me wrong, but that feud needs to end. And by the time you watch this, you've probably already seen Raw, so you know better than me as to whether this feud is continuing or not. I really hope not. I really hope that was the end of this feud. But, yeah, at SummerSlam, I would like to see Cena versus Cesaro or Cena versus Daniel Bryan 2 1 year later for the WWE World Heavyweight title with Daniel Bryan as the champion this time. That could be great. So, yeah, either Cesaro or Daniel Bryan, both matches would be awesome. Both feuds would be awesome. At Colt Cababa, his question was, how successful do you predict Bad News Barrett's IC title reign to be in the long run? When I was thinking about this, it really brought back bad memories. And I'm afraid I've got some bad news for you. That his last 3 reigns, his first one was shit. Back in 2011, if you guys even remember that. I mean, I hardly remember it either. His second reign in early 2013 started off nicely, lost every match from that point forward. His second reign, won it after losing it at WrestleMania, won it the night after WrestleMania 29, against The Miz. And that was shit too, because he lost every fucking match he was involved in. So the last 3 reigns are shit. I would like to think, I'm not getting my hopes up high here, because I've said this before, but I'm really hoping that WWE does it right with Wade Barrett this time around, and that he has a gimmick. It's silly, it's dumb, I guess you could say, but it's over. It's the most over gimmick this guy has had since he came into the company, since the Nexus. And they fucking bombed that too. The British Brawler thing, the Barrett Barrage, all that stuff, as good as it was, it all failed because WWE didn't have enough faith in the guy to push him correctly. And since his re-debut the night after WrestleMania this year, he's been over. I'm afraid I've got some bad news for you. That line has been over with the audiences. He's had some very good matches with RVD and Sheamus as of late. So there's no real reason why to think that his reign could go bad. But if the past is any indication, they will flop it. They'll not give 2 shits about him a month or 2 months down the line. So in the long run, I hope it's going to be successful because they've done a very good job with the mid-card as of like the WWE that is, and making both belts mean something for the first time in a very long time. So I'm excited for the mid-card right now, and hopefully they keep it up in the near future going forward. But I do hope it's going to be successful. How do I foresee it? There's a good chance it could fail. Just saying. I mean, it's not Wade Barrett's fault, but it's WWE Creative's fault for giving up on him so quickly. And I hope that's not the case. I hope they realize they have something right now with Wade Barrett, and that he could become a world champion. I mean, I don't know if I could see a world champion with the name of Bad News Barrett, but then again, last year we had a world champion by the name of Dolph Ziggler. So, that being said, I think it is possible, and I'll get to that in a minute, but I think it will be successful in the long run, but I would not be surprised if it flopped because WWE Creative gave up on him. Next question comes from @EthanLovesWWE. His question was, who do you think should win Money in the Bank, and when should they cash it in? I wrote an article about this a couple days ago, and I listed a few candidates to win the briefcase this year. I listed Rusev was a really long shot. It's not like that was any realistic. That was nothing realistic anyway. I just kind of put that down as a dark horse, so to speak, because WWE is high on him at the moment, so I wouldn't be surprised if he won the Money in the Bank ladder match in June, or later this month, I should say. But 3 guys I would love to see win it include Cody Rhodes, Cesaro, or Bad News Barrett. Cody Rhodes has been in this match, 4 or 5 times in the last number of years. I think it is his time to win the briefcase. and I think he could make a great world champion. I mean, he's involved in a undercard feud right now with his brother Goldust. I mean, it really hasn't even kicked off yet, but after that concludes, and I'm loving that feud, by the way. I'm loving the build towards that. I said that before, but I'm hoping once that runs its course, they can move him into an upper mid-card role where he belongs. Cody Rhodes is great. I think he's a future world champion, in my opinion. And the only reason I say Cesaro and Bad News Barrett are more likely to win the briefcase is because WWE is pushing both guys right now. Bad News Barrett, I could see, because he's over right now. He's on a roll. He's got the IC title right now, and I mean, The Miz held the briefcase while he was U.S. champion back in 2010. But I think he should focus on keeping the IC title prestigious and relevant right now, as opposed to the briefcase. So I would like to see Cody Rhodes win it, but the most potential candidate to win the briefcase would have to be probably Cesaro, since they are pushing him right now, and he's the most likely to win the briefcase. And I could very well see him facing John Cena and many, many others down the line in probably a world championship scenario. So the next question comes from @TheAverageGrunt. His question was, what's going to happen first, Bray Wyatt winning a championship or the Shield splitting up? Probably the Shield splitting up, if only because they've teased a number of times in the past. They were almost going to do it before WrestleMania. Bray Wyatt, I don't think, is very world championship worthy at the moment. They have teased him in main event feuds with the likes of John Cena, in the likes of Daniel Bryan, and many others since he made his debut almost a year ago. But I don't see Bray Wyatt as WWE World Heavyweight Championship material at the moment. The Shield I could see splitting by the end of the year. I think it will be a very sad day when they inevitably split up. But I don't think that should be anytime soon, especially given the fact they've been pushed to the moon in the last few months or so as fan favorites. So there's no real reason to split them up, but I could very well see them doing so in the very near future. Next question comes from @TheAlanAlber09. Question was, what do you think of the match between John Cena and Bray Wyatt from WWE Payback? I thought the matchup was great, and they did a very good job of telling a great story throughout the matchup. And both John Cena and Bray Wyatt both pulled their weight tremendously, had a great matchup, both better than both of their encounters from WrestleMania and Extreme Rules combined. I just really don't want to see this continue past this point. But I thought the matchup was tremendous, and where both guys go from here is really, and there's a question about that too, and I think in 2 more questions I'll get asked about that. But between Cena and Bray Wyatt, their feud has been very good. The match is not so much, but their last feud at Payback, the last man standing, exceeded expectations. They had a great matchup. Kudos to both guys for putting on one of the best matches of 2014 up to this point. @Jared Bodel, his question was, or Badel, I'm sorry if I mispronounced that, his question was, based on the events of Payback, do you think that Daniel Bryan will be able to defend his title at Money in the Bank? I personally don't think so. I think they probably will kill off the feud between him and Kane either at Battleground or maybe even at SummerSlam, but I don't see them stripping Daniel Bryan of the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. I don't see that happening, because if they're going to do that, they would have done it a long time ago when it initially was announced that he was going to have to undergo surgery. So I don't see him stripping the championship. I don't see the matchup between him and Kane happening at Money in the Bank. It's far too soon, I think, for him to be competing in a match. I don't think he'll be healed by the time Money in the Bank comes around in a couple of weeks. So I'll put my money on him versus Kane, or Daniel Bryan just in action in general, happening at Battleground in mid-July. So I don't see him facing Kane at Money in the Bank in a few weeks. Final question comes from @XKingofBeards. Their question was, what are your thoughts on the Payback pay-per-view, and what match do you think stole the show? Also, after last night's loss, what do you think this leaves Bray Wyatt? Should he turn babyface or remain heel? So a couple of questions here. What are my thoughts on the Payback pay-per-view? I thought it was great. It was solid from start to finish. Every match on the card was very, very good, very entertaining. The action was great all night long. There weren't really any exciting moments, like any shockers or anything like that. I think the only matchup I got wrong in my predictions was the main event between the Shield and Evolution. But overall, I thought it was a very solid show. They did a great job of building. They did a good job of building throughout the night. The stories between each of the competitors, all the matches were great in my opinion. A very entertaining night of action. Not the most exciting show. I thought TakeOver was more exciting, but if you want to talk about better in-ring action overall, I think that award belongs to Payback for being such an entertaining show as a whole. So what match do I think stole the show? It comes down to there were 3 matches that really stood out to me. Sheamus and Cesaro in the opener, I thought that was great. John Cena versus Bray Wyatt in the last man standing matchup, and Shield versus Evolution. Shield and Evolution, I think their matchup at there were two matches at Extreme Rules and Payback were very, very different. The one at Payback told a better story. Shield got their asses handed them the entire match before they came back, had their big comeback, and pinned Evolution to pick up the victory. And then there's their matchup at Extreme Rules that was much more fast-paced. Their matchup at Payback was more hardcore, which is kind of ironic because the last match that they had together was at Extreme Rules, and that match wasn't so extreme. And it was extreme, but not compared to this matchup that they had at Payback. But the action was better in that matchup, but the story was better told in their match at Payback. But Bray Wyatt and John Cena, I think, had the match of the night, in my opinion. I think that was a tremendous matchup. The finish was stupid. I didn't like the finish. I didn't like the finish with John Cena standing over Bray Wyatt after he already put him through the AA, through that whatever that surface or something. I thought that was cool, but there was really no need for John Cena to literally bury Bray Wyatt by putting the ring steps or whatever on top of him and then standing on top of that. That was kind of lame. That kind of, I don't want to say that buried Bray, but it literally did bury Bray. The finish was stupid, but everything else about that matchup is great. Kudos to the Usos and Luke Harper and Eric Rowan for pulling their weight as well. Their interference was great and well executed, not overbooked at all. So I thought that match was the best matchup on the show and still the show in my opinion. And your other question included, where do I think Bray Wyatt goes from here? Should he stay babyface or remain heel? I think there's a lot left in him as a heel. He probably will go babyface at some point. That's pretty much a guarantee. He's so freaking over right now. If you saw that visual of Payback with all the cell phones up, they really got something going with Bray Wyatt right now, being over as he is. So I definitely see him remaining heel for the time being. I wouldn't be surprised if he turns babyface by the end of the year, but keep him heel right now. Where he goes, like I said, with John Cena, I see him feuding with Cesaro at some point in the near future, or Daniel Bryan. I think those are two very fresh feuds that we could see. I mean, Daniel Bryan he feuded with last year, but that only went on for a month, and that really got cut short after SummerSlam when John Cena had to go in for surgery and take time off. So either one of those feuds for the summer would be great. In terms of where Bray Wyatt goes, dropping him down to the mid-card with Sheamus. I mean, Sheamus is just kind of upper mid-card right now, and that could be a good feud. They had a very good matchup on Main Event a couple of weeks ago. And so Bray Wyatt and Sheamus, that is. I wouldn't mind that feud, but I just don't see Bray Wyatt going for the U.S. Championship right now. That'd be a little strange. But I'm trying to think of other people that Bray Wyatt could feud with right now. There really aren't many other top faces. Him versus Daniel Bryan, too. I mean, that feud went on for as long as it did, late last year and early this year. But Bray Wyatt technically did beat Daniel Bryan clean at the Royal Rumble, so that could qualify him. That could grant him a shot, earn him a shot at the WWE World Heavyweight Championship at some point down the line. And we can't see that feud right now, of course, because Daniel Bryan's busy with Kane. He's out with an injury, so that's not possible right now. But I don't want to see this feud with John Cena continue. So I don't know what to do with Bray Wyatt right now. I guess they could do Shield versus Bray Wyatt again, maybe. I don't know. We saw that matchup a couple times, but it was such a great matchup. I wouldn't mind seeing it again. So I don't really know, to be quite honest with you. By the time you watch this video, either later on in the week, we probably will have a better idea of what they're going to be doing with Bray Wyatt for the summer. But either way, I look forward to what they're going to be doing with him. He's very hot right now. He's on a massive roll and shoots John Cena. He's very much over. He's had great matches. So I look forward to what they do with Bray Wyatt and John Cena for this matter going forward. But to answer your question, he should absolutely remain heel for the time being. So that's going to do it for this week's questions, guys. Thanks very much for sending in. If you want to send in a question, make sure to tweet me on Twitter with the hashtag AskGSM, at RussellRant, or like my official Facebook page at GrahamGSMMatthews, and leave a comment on the wall, or leave a comment down below. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. All support is greatly appreciated. This is GSM, signing out. Till next week, guys.